how to create a whirlpool effect in Photoshop. Something like this. Now it uses one of the symmetry pattern features. There's the source design. I'm going to show you how to create it. Or something very similar. So File and New. And I'm going to go with a document that's 10 by 15 centimetres. I normally use that format because I print quite a lot with 10 by 15 and 300 resolution and 16-bit RGB and white background. Click Create. Now this is to create the source design. Now, all kinds of designs could be used for the source. I'm going to use a gradient, but you could use anything. So just go to the gradient tool and I'm going to use one of the legacy gradients. And if you can't find legacy gradients, you haven't got them, you just go to Window and Gradients, right side panel, and then on the right side of the panel, there's a Legacy Gradients. So you can bring all your old favourites back. So that's quick and easy. You just see it, Legacy Gradients down the bottom. Key panel for this is the Layers panel. Now the History panel is always useful because you can always undo at any point as well. Layers panel. Create a gradient. And I'm going to go with the blending mode of difference. I like blending mode of difference. Very useful for creating all kinds of weird and wonderful colours and using linear mode or linear style. And there's the gradient I'm using. You can use any of the other gradients as well. Just create something very extreme, colourful like this. And then go to the lasso tool or one of the other selection tools. I'm just going to use the lasso and just drag around an interesting part of the colour design. Now you could choose any part of the design. I'm just going with this. It's got quite a lot of colour in there. And just draw it around there and you've got your selection. Now you can make the shape all kinds of different ways. I'm just going to go with a fairly elliptical, rough elliptical shape. And you can move it around as well with the selection tool. So once you've done that, what you need to do then is go to Edit and Copy. You want to make it as a layer. So Edit and Copy and then Edit and Paste. Paste it back in. So it'll be on a layer. What you can then do is remove the background layer. I'll just get rid of that panel. I don't want the pass panel. So you can see you've got two layers now. Just remove the background one. Just delete it. Just go to the bottom of the panel in the Layers panel. And now with that layer selected, go to the Layer menu and Layer Style and give it a bevel. Just give it a bit of depth. I'm also going to give it a drop shadow as well. Don't need to do that. In some ways it makes it darker, the image. Just gives it some depth, but it also makes it a lot darker. So just change the various depth settings. Also go down to drop shadow if you want. Move that around. So sometimes it's probably best not to have it. I've gone with it. Hindsight, I don't think I really should. But you've got your design there. And you of course can create all kinds of source designs. And I'm just going to select that. What you need to do, just select it using the rectangular marquee tool and edit and define pattern. Click OK. But I'm not going to use that one. I could use it, perfectly reasonable design, but I'm going to turn it into a smart object first. So Layer menu and Smart Object, convert to Smart Object. And that's if you want to come back to it at a later point. But also I'm going to apply effects. So I'm just going to go to Filter and Liquify. And then just manipulate it using any of the various liquify tools. Top one, perfectly reasonable. Any of the others also are quite useful. Change the size, drag around, modify it, just stretch it. You can also use the Edit menu and Transform and Warp. It's another option as well. So just tweak it, just create a very nice stretch design like that. Maybe a sharp end with that bulbous at the bottom. Right, once you've done that, click OK. And you can always go back to it. It's a smart object. You can always edit it You can also remove the liquefier. So if you don't like liquefy, you can undo or just remove it later on. And again, use the rectangular marquee tool for the tool panel and edit menu and define pattern. So it's stored as a pattern preset. That's the key thing. And I say the sources could be literally anything. You can maybe make multiple designs in this and then define those as well. So now go to File and New. And again, create exactly the same size. Don't have to, but that's what I'm going to go with, 10 by 15. Again, 300, 16-bit RGB. Great. Many times I create it using CMYK as well if I'm printing. You lose some of the filters. So edit menu and fill and go down to the pattern that you just defined. So there. Select the contents to be patterns. That's one that I created earlier. There's that one there. So you can see it's slightly different. The design will be then obviously different as well once you've applied it. So that's been defined. Script is on and symmetry fill. And that's pattern. Click OK. And it comes up with another panel. And you've got the design there. And I'm using number 7 as a symmetry type. So it's a rotation symmetry, a dilative rotation symmetry. Know it really well. Okay, I'm going to go with pattern scale. I've put it to the max. And there's a whole range of different symmetries. They're really great. Something to explore. And I'm going to do videos going through some of those later. And now what you can also do, you can go through this pattern translation. It doesn't seem to be much, but just tweaking it, changing the values. You can literally go through 50 combinations of different designs just by changing those values, that setting. You might prefer to do it via the percentage, the edit field. You can run through them, just quickly preview it. The preview does sort of match the end result, what it looks like in the end. It's often bigger than that, so that design will not be exact. But it's fair enough, so you can see the range of different designs you can create. And I'm going to go with, like I say, minus 65 there, minus 12, depends on the design you've got. And I've also gone for colour randomness. Set it to the max. And you've got the design there. So it's a lovely whirlpool effect there. And again, you can undo it at any point, undo fill. You don't have to keep it. So again, edit and fill. You can also apply it multiple times on top of each other as well. So run it again, click OK, using exactly the same pattern. And this time changed it to minus 50, minus 59, 58. Run through the different settings until you're happy with your design. Sometimes it's like a flower design, but you've got still a whirlpool sort of falling inwards kind of effect. And you can always run it multiple times. You can change the settings as well. So edit and fill again, use exactly the same. You don't have to even use the same pattern. You could change the pattern. You could use a variation of the pattern. You might, maybe when you're running the define pattern, you could define multiple patterns, select them in turn. So you get a very subtle change each time. And again, change the translation setting. And you can see then you've got that overlapping what was there before. So you can create some very unique combinations of one design and another setting applied on top. And also you can use layers. So you can go to Layer and New Layer and run it again. So edit and fill. Again, use the same pattern or change the pattern, up to you. Change the settings again for the translation. Set the height and width, up to you which one settings you want. That creates a nice whirlpool effect. That's a setting. But again, depends on the source material what the end result will be. I'm not changing the pattern scale. I could. Doesn't really make that much difference. Just reduces the size. Click OK. And then you've got your Whirlpool again, applied on top. Now this is a layer. So you can move the layer around. You can scale the layer. So you can go to Edit menu and Transform. Apply filters to it. Turn it into a smart object via the layer menu. So you can distort it. Maybe use Liquify, distort that layer and combine it with the lower layer using blending modes via the Layers panel. Like I say, you can move it around so it's not forced into one particular centre point. You don't have to have it right at the centre. Just move it over. Again, it's now 2 layers, so you can go to the different blending modes in the Layers panel and tweak it. Or you can just go to the Layer menu and flatten it. So you've got your design there. Again, you can apply on top, so Edit and Fill again, click OK. And again, you can change the scale, you can change the translation. Just try them out. Go through them, experiment with all the different settings. There's a whole range of combinations that work really nicely. You see the colour changes all the time because of the colour randomness is set up quite high. And you've got your design there. Doesn't take so much a Whirlpool effect there. Now that was a design I created earlier. That was the one that the example I showed right at the start. That was the source material. So I could use that as well. And I've got other patterns. You can see over in that patterns part, I've actually saved a number of patterns. They're very easy to create. And you can just apply them multiple times, combine them in thousands of different combinations. So again, Edit and Fill. Select one of those early ones. And you can see the different designs. You literally create, like strands work really well as well. So you can create little strands of, that you can use Liquify to re-stretch and distort. So click OK. And you've got your design there. And you can change the settings. Got your Whirlpool design or a flower-like effect. Move it that back way, the other way. So you can create a flower. Now you can put that on a layer and then combine them multiple times. Click OK. And you can see the design that was created there. Thousands of possibilities there for your designs, just using this lovely, just one setting. That's number 7 symmetry setting. There's many others combined in that, I think it's about 32 settings. There's an awful lot of options there. You see that lovely colourful design you can create there. And you can also use Edit and Fade Fill. So Edit menu, Fade Fill. Set the opacity down to 50%. Set to darken for the blending mode. Or maybe use difference, lighten. So you can combine them in all kinds of ways just using the blending modes. I like difference. Difference is always good. Click OK. And you can apply filters to it. You don't have to keep obviously just as this. So filter menu, stylize, find edges, solarize, oil paint, my favourite. Gives it a nice smeary look. So now, just going to find edges. That's another one as well. It's quite nice. So Edit menu and Fill. Just go run through them. I'm just going to show a few more examples. What you can also do, you got that design there. Well, it can be duplicated. it can be modified. It can be tweaked even more. So deselect that. Now maybe apply brush strokes to that. Change it in many different ways if you wish. But filter and liquefy. You can distort it, stretch it out like that. And that's the reason about the smart filters. Very useful because you can always go back at any point and change them or add additional effects. So you've got two liquefiers now. So you've got liquefy on top of a liquefy. And you can duplicate that design as well. So you don't have to just keep it as one single design. You can add additional designs to it. You can also go to layer menu, image menu and adjustments. Hue and saturation, color lookup to change it. Hold down the Alt or Option key and drag to duplicate the design. So you've got two designs there. And then scale it, rotate it, modify it, transform it as well. Doesn't have to be exactly the same as the first design. And what you can do then, you can combine both of those. Or you can maybe change the layer style for that one. So bevel and emboss, tweak that. You can see you can change the angle. Again, add a drop shadow if you wish. That makes it very, very dark, the end result. So not always the best of things. Select both of them. You can go up to the layer menu and then smart objects and convert the whole thing into a smart object. So you've got two designs. And again, what you can then do, you can use liquefy again, oil paint, resize it. If it lets you do it, yep, resize it there. And then define that as a pattern. And it doesn't have to be just 2 items, it could be 10 items, it could be 20, maybe small fragments. Select part of it. Don't have to select the whole lot. You can actually select just some of it and define that as a pattern via the edit menu. Now just go back to the edit and fill. So instead of using just go down there to the custom pattern and select the new pattern. There's that design there. Select that and click OK. It might take longer to process, depending on the settings. Well, there's the design there. Again, change the translation. You can tweak them, push them up, push them down. Just explore the settings, experiment. And once you're happy with that, you can change the scale as well if you want. See, when you change the scale, you make it very, very small. Personally, I keep it fairly high, but you might want that. You might want it. And also, of course, you can always apply it to a selection as well. So you've got your lovely Whirlpool design there. And if you don't want it, you can always run it again or add on top. So again, edit and fill, change the settings. You've got the same design. Just run it again. And just keep layering it. You can see all kinds of different combinations can be made then. And so you've got your lovely Whirlpool, all created from a very basic design. Something as simple as that. Of course, once you've got your design, you can then apply filters, do many other things with that. And the filter and the symmetry can all be saved to an action. So you can use it over and over again to create this design. So you can go again, stylize and oil paint. Apply it a couple of times. Oil paint really works best with 2 or 3 applies at least. And then adjustments, levels, change the colour, brightness. Maybe add a colour lookup as well. Maybe turn it into a blue design. Image menu, adjustments and colour lookup. Some of them do absolutely nothing there. There's blue tone, much more effective. So you get a nice sort of whirlpool, but a frosty whirlpool. So that's it. That's the really powerful. Again, many other scripts are available, but that script is really super useful. Edit, fill, and symmetry fill. Worth checking out. And not only have you just got one symmetry fill, you've got 32 of them to explore. You've got 7 there. You can see right down the bottom, 32. Super useful. And use it to create all kinds of amazing designs. Once you're happy with your design, click OK. So you've got, again, yet another whirlpool effect. Well, I hope you found this tutorial of interest. Please subscribe to the Graphic Extras channel, always adding new tutorials all the time. Please add some comments, always appreciated. A dislike or like. Thank you much.